I guess I'm playing Lily's Waltz again today. You know what? I got it wrong. That was not Lily's Waltz. That was his other piece called Soleil. And he's kind of taking something out of classical music and writing. That's Jean-Marc Ledoux' piece Soleil. And hello, I'm so late. We're in the middle of this construction project down here, and neighbors complained and had to sort it out with the homeowners association. And I'm trying to do good things still from remotely on a local level. And it's always life would be so much better and easier without people. Have you noticed that? It's those people. It's those people that keep getting in the way. And it's our response to those people. So I'm a little distracted and a little off. I'm so glad. So that is the piece Soleil by Jean-Marc Ledoux. Okay, so yeah, I'm a little bit off the mark, and I do have beach hair, by the way. Just saying. We're in a weird place. I never thought I'd be where I am doing the things that I'm doing. It's a strange world that we live in. But I did want to show up for you and to tell you that I'm learning again today that someone else's trip doesn't have to be mine. I don't have to go on their trip, and you don't have to either. People used to say that to me a lot. Well, just give a damn less, or I don't care. Have you noticed how the people who go, I don't care, I don't give a this, they seem to get really, you hear it? They seem to be very hard-hearted. And I don't want to be hard-hearted. When did I say I wanted to stop caring about people and stop caring about relationships? I don't know about you, but I feel like the call of Christ is compassion and love and concern. Our problem is, I'll hold this here a little closer. Our problem is that we've been conditioned and we've learned to care about the wrong things. We've learned to care about what they think about us. We've learned to care about keeping in control so that we don't have to experience and learn how to guard our emotions and guard our hearts. You see, managing our emotions is like managing a 2 or 3-year-old. So fear manifests as an emotion, but really it's a bodily response to threat, to what we believe can kill us and scare us. So it's a physical bodily response, and that has uses and purposes, and it's actually a really beautiful thing. And I talk about that. You guys have hopefully heard me talk about that. But the thing that we need to realize is that as adults, the process of having emotions and what to do with them, I guess I didn't close that door. How's that sound? The process of having emotions and dealing with them is a process of maturity and self-government. So we feel because we feel that we have no control over feeling, and so therefore we just are at the mercy of whatever we feel at any given moment. Is that really, really true? I've learned to question that. I've learned to believe that just because someone is going down a road, going down a trip, creating a drama, creating a crisis, I don't have to go with them. I don't have to feel what they feel. That doesn't have to change my state of being, which can be a state of being of security and rest, okay? And so part of our challenge as adults is to say, hey, little inner toddler, hey, little inner worrier, hey, little inner, panicker, guess what? You learn to see the world this way, so let's unlearn that. And I was telling you this week that one of the ways that I'm seeing growth is just, sometimes it's in comparison. You look back, sometimes we have to look back over a period of years and say, previously this kind of behavior exhibited by someone in my environment or toward me would have really taken a lot out of me. I noticed originally when I would go into fear and panic, I had probably like a 3 or 4 day cycle of really deep discomfort and almost like a self-punishing. Like I would not allow myself to be safer, happier, stronger, more secure, almost because the lies in my head were so strong that I believed I just was, and it just was happening, and I was a victim of the feeling of fear. It was a victim of other people's responses to me. Then I learned as I grew in faith, and I learned as I grew in the truth, and I learned as I dealt with, for example, adult children with alcoholic issues and learning about boundaries. I remember the first time I ever set a boundary with someone, I practically went into, apoplexia. The first time I said, no, I can't do that. The first time I didn't take a phone call, or I changed a relationship, and I actually had a couple of friendships that I had to kind of say, I know this is weird, but I don't think we should be friends anymore. That's hard. But I really was in unhealthy friendships. And so I needed to be able to say to them that the relationship needed to change, and maybe we shouldn't be as joined at the hip as we were. And those things then would take days and days of internal processing while I tried to figure out if I was okay and if I was safe. Now, but then as I grew, I noticed that my recovery time shortened significantly. And I found that my greatest degree of discomfort now was about a 24-hour period. If I have something that really, affects me more internally, my discomfort period and my kind of wacky brain rehearsal of it is about a 24-hour thing. But I've decided I can get a lot shorter with other things. And so I've decided to decided to improve my time score. And I think I told some of you have heard this story about there was another relationship that needed to change. When you begin to set boundaries and when you begin to make healthier choices, your relationships will shift. It's the sound of carpentry. And your relationships will shift and will change, and that creates a lot of upheaval depending on how attached you were and I were to certain situations. And then you find out you make healthier and healthier choices. And isn't it amazing when you actually learn something that God doesn't need to send to you, or you don't need to bring to yourself people that have to teach you that lesson again because you really did learn it. This is why we go in cycles with the similar kinds of relationships again and again, because we have things that we're working out where we just seem to always be going around the mountain or circling the toilet bowl again and again because we haven't actually learned the lesson and changed the behaviors and the thinking and the choices and the beliefs that got us there to begin with. So we wind up in the same kind of situations over and over again. And it's really discouraging until you realize that God is giving you a chance to finally pass the exam. Instead of just failing you in the class of human maturing, he says, well, let's just do it again. 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 We tend to see that as punishment. We tend to see that as we're consigned to some kind of fate of unhealthy relationships or similar circumstances. But what God is saying, no, can you learn the lesson so we can, and then you notice that things shift and people move out of your life and you don't find yourself repeating the patterns again. Isn't that amazing when you realize he's just giving you another chance to pass the class with honors? And so I did pretty well for many years in making better relationship choices. But a few years ago, I realized that yet again, a kind of codependent thing had happened and it manifested. And finally, have you noticed that in codependent relationships or unhealthy relationships, there's always a current of things you avoid saying and you avoid dealing with. And you kind of know there are unwritten things you can't say and can't bring up. And, you hope against hope that this will be a different dynamic. Well, when you need to make a change, those things will kind of widen and deepen and increase until you wind up saying the thing that you feared saying, and the other person does wind up blowing up and having a drama, and then you realize, oh my gosh, it's another one of these. Well, kind of had something like that happen, and I had to go, you know what, God bless you. I think we're done here. I think we've walked together for a season, but I think that the dynamics aren't healthy, and I wish you the best. And my husband said to me, this person's going to want the last word. You know that. So expect a last word type email. And he was right. I got the I have to have the last word email. But I went, okay, you have that. How about I learn to have freedom? And I noticed for a few days I was a little wacky. There was a little bit of spinning thoughts. There was a little bit of obsessive thinking. Did I do the right thing? And I realized at that point that I could be kind to my brain because I had just experienced a shift of relationship. I had just had to do something that was difficult and hard and speak the truth that created emotional response. And so my brain was now figuring out how to file that and where to file it. It had been used to going through with the old wiring of where this person fit in and what I had to do to be okay and what was necessary and how I had adjusted all my beliefs and my behaviors surrounding this person because that was the norm. Then when they were plucked out and removed, my brain was trying to wire in, what do we do now? And so when I realized that, I stopped and I said, now it wasn't 24/7, but it was like sort of I'd be minding my own business and all of a sudden this person would waltz through my head and I'd think, yeah, I don't like thinking this right now and this is kind of uncomfortable and yuck. But then I'd shepherd it. I'd take that 2-year-old emotion and I'd say, remember who God is, remember who you are. What did the Lord say? Because I spent some time with the Lord and I said, Lord, I need to know what you think. Am I off base here? Am I, the Lord spoke to me and he said, no, this is, I'm here. I got some confirmation from a leader mentor, but still I was kind of floating, this person was sort of floating through my thoughts and I could feel certain feelings I didn't like. And so I just would stop and I would be the big person in the room and say, hey, Julie, guess what? Remember you heard from Jesus. Remember you got a confirmation. Okay, so what's happening? Oh, my brain's rewiring. My brain is rewiring this person out of my immediate circle. My brain is rewiring their power in my life out the door. My brain is rewiring a different position for them in my life, blessed and loved, but farther away. My brain is rewiring the resolution to a situation that was uncomfortable. And so I said, I bet they're going to show up on and off in my thoughts for about a month. And then I think they won't anymore. Now, I don't know if I made that amount of time happen by just declaring that. But to be honest with you, I sort of felt like that was about right. And so for about a month, maybe less probably, this situation would come waltzing through my thoughts, and I was tempted to give it a lot of energy and power, and to think that it meant I was afraid and that I was ashamed and that I had failed. But I realized that it meant my brain was looking for a new way to file the information. And before too long, as I just continued to show up again and say, no, you know what, this is what the Lord said, this is what my counsel said, this is what I believe is healthy, this is where we at. I choose the peace, I choose the order and the peace of, in Jesus' name, I govern over these thoughts. I release peace. I speak to this situation to come in line with heaven. I am secure in God. He loves me. I bless so and so, and I'm moving on. I stay in confident, quiet rest. That's how I live now. I don't do that other stuff where this takes weeks and weeks and weeks of drama and rehearsing. I used to be very verbal processing all the time. And if I got upset, I would talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk about it. Talk about how I felt and talk about what this meant. Why didn't they and why should I? And so what does that kind of brain dumping do? What does that kind of dumping do? It actually wires back into your brain the drama. When you rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, when you're stuck in that thing where you always have to talk something through with one friend, another friend, and another friend, and another friend. Well, that's how I lived. And so this time I decided, no, I don't do that. And it was over, maturing through years, but I really was shepherding. And, goodness sakes, if it wasn't absolutely true that in a period of a couple of weeks, my brain had refiled the relationship, wired in some new truth, wired in some new information, and now I don't think about this person pretty much ever. And when I do, if I'm tempted in my flesh to rehearse it, because occasionally we'll go, yeah, remember this so-and-so, I've noticed it doesn't value add to me, that my rehearsal of how I think I did it right and was appropriate doesn't really give me much help. And so I don't go down that road as much. So this is what happens in the brain process. And so I'm learning now that as part of my maturing and my new level, I don't have to take the trips that other people are going on. And I might feel a series of feelings and emotions, but really, honestly, their upsetness with me or their perceptions or what I fear might happen in the future, or if I'm in a risk situation, like currently I'm working on a project that I hope is really successful, but there's a lot of emotion in our community, and this could be an interesting thing. But it's kind of like somebody's got to lead, somebody's got to take the risks, somebody's got to step up, and so some folks are. And do I have to go down the trail of what bad things could happen? I really don't have to take that trip. I can shepherd my emotions like a toddler, saying, now, calm down. What do we know? What have we learned? And in the process, my brain and your brain are learning to refile circumstances in, don't need to give that energy. Oh yes, this is who we are. Or this is a new way to feel. I can choose to feel differently because choices come from thoughts. Thoughts make you feel. Feelings come from thoughts. Feelings come from thoughts, right? And so we can choose different thoughts. And so when our thoughts come into line and we refile and we learn how to refile, that's a good way to handle it. And to give yourself grace to know you're in process. You're in process. So what do you need to refile today? What does your brain need some time to refile? What is going to take you over a period of weeks, some time as you continually shepherd with truth, with positivity, with taking care of business, with esteem building things that you can do that give you a sense of competency and strength in your life, while your brain refiles you out of crisis and closes off crisis files and says, no, let's get rid of those and let's refile and reframe how we do things. What do you need to do? What do you need to be accomplishing? You can do it. And give yourself a little time. Say, you know what, I think I'm a little nutty over this situation right now. This has kind of pushed a button, but my buttons are changing. My life is changing. I'm living out of truth. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of time to settle into the new truth of this, how the situation is changing, and not beat myself up over it. And I'm going to let there be actually kind of a healing of the neural pathways in my brain, and a truth in pathways in our brain. So anyway, I want to encourage you to do something that scares you. And then as you do it, let your brain file the experience, give it some time to file the experience in a positive category instead of a terrifying negative one, right? So DLive, that's where we are. Twitch, Periscope still for another week. Twitter, Facebook, julielavender.com. We should be doing a week from tonight, 9 p.m. on Greg Harvey's channel, a group Periscope celebration thing. So look for that, assuming they haven't shut it down before 9 p.m. Eastern. And